Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unfiltered Press St. Lucia. I am your host, Troy Sayers.
Block music. Politics, politics, politics. Tous les jours maintenant y'a qu'à parler. Mon ouais rien pas qu'à changer. Gardez là où y'a c'est danger. Nous fait yep, nous voulons manger. J'y maintenant là vous manger.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Unfiltered Press St. Lucia. I'm your host, Troy Sayers, and for today's topic, we're going to be discussing what are the three main types of criminals in St. Lucia. The fury originated from Jamaica by a blogger named Serpy, who granted me the permission to review and expound on this topic. My intention is to assess the criminality and illustrate it by using the varying categories of fuel found in today's market and the corresponding octane level. So we're going to be discussing three types. However, to start, we will begin by discussing the premium level fuels, the 87 octane fuel and the 90 or 91 octane fuel. The 87 octane fuel is equivalent to a low-level criminal. The 90 or 91 octane fuel is equivalent to the medium-level criminal. The assumption is that the premium fuel offers much better gas mileage, so there is a preference for the type of fuel for obvious reasons. Let us see how this affects our comparison, shall we? Society generally doesn't show any partiality towards the activities of the 87 octane criminal for specific reasons, but mainly due to lack of understanding as to why these individuals do what they do. Members of law enforcement are usually celebrated for apprehending or terminating these individuals because they present themselves as outright menaces to society and the well-being of citizens, which brings to question what the ghetto calls a bad man police. However, it is a fact that there are also members of law enforcement who at times display behaviors similar to what of the 87 criminal, whether it is for financial gain or for personal satisfaction. Who knows? Essentially, the 87 octane is a lower level criminal, often referred to as lowlives or many other derogatory names used in society. The stigma is that these individuals usually hail from impoverished areas, particularly the ghetto. However, not all ghetto people are bad. Majority of the ghetto people are very good law-abiding citizens. However, they do suffer from minimum wage employment, which normally cause these individuals to be barely able to satisfy their family or their households. Having limited education and a bad temper, which sometimes causes them to direct a lot of their aggression outwards, while at the same time trying to fend for themselves in these mean streets of St. Lucia. Left unchecked, these individuals turn into career criminals with little to show for their lives other than an extensive rap sheet, maybe a bike or a car, but no license. Does that sound familiar? 87 octane criminals usually carry out street level activities as expendable soldiers, usually for the 90 octane criminal. The environment and choice of association would cause these individuals to act, dress and speak in certain ways, what St. Lucia normally refers to as a V-neck. The 87 octane criminal usually needs to keep committing petty crimes, particularly burglary, pickpocketing, robbery, bag, cell phone, and jewelry snatching, just to name a few. Sometimes the commission of these acts result in violent crimes, shootings, stabbings, etc. No matter how much money these individuals make, they are always financially constrained. They live in the moment, usually causing them to spend all the proceeds of a successful criminal act on whatever vices appeal to their nature. So they would put down a crime, boast, under the influence of alcohol, talking, splurging money, buying shoes, clothes, making it quite obvious that they have some money in their pocket, normally making them a target from law enforcement and perhaps other criminals, 87 octane criminals. Their activities sometimes earn them reputation. They believe this notoriety is a good thing for their image, but they are sorely mistaken, as their deeds and reputation is what keeps society constantly on their guard in relations to these individuals. Which brings us to discuss the 90 or 91 octane criminal, which would be a higher, more premium quality of criminal. These criminals are mid-level criminals who bridges the gap between the low criminal and the high-level criminal activities. These individuals usually have a fierce reputation in the streets as gangsters, or what society refers to as a bad man here in St. Lucia. These reputations are maintained for prolonged periods by the commission of violent acts with no regard to the rule of law, mainly because these individuals have the money to evade law. Simultaneously, these individuals are also idolized as ghetto superstars and celebrated as heroes within their territories. Although they are legends in crime, they are also well known in the upper classes and can sometimes be seen in corporate functions, somewhere you would never expect such an individual to be. However, they do rub shoulders, and in a manner which would be quite surprising. The question nobody seems to be asking is why? Why would these criminals be rubbing shoulders with such upper class individuals? People with spotless reputations. People you won't even see smoking or drinking publicly. However, they are rubbing shoulders with 90 octane criminals. The difference here is that these individuals have the financial resources and links to evade law enforcement. They commit the same grotesque acts as the 87 octane criminal. They have the financial resources to evade judgment from the law. The misconception of these criminals' part is that they believe themselves to be in control of the situation when they are not. They usually control an area, a block or turf, where their associates would congregate among residents, which is usually a hotspot for crime. And we know all these areas, not only in Castries, but around the island. However, these persons are usually just pawns in a bigger game that is being played by an undercover, higher level criminal who prefers his identity not to be associated with any criminal activity. Finally, we're going to be discussing the last criminal in St. Lucia, the highest level criminal in St. Lucia, the 116 octane fuel, which is normally used for racing. However, this would be the ultimate criminal This criminal is a high-level criminal. The criminal activities of these individuals usually cause them to make it big on an unknown scheme. Following this, they invest in legitimate business, property, and persons showing potential to make their criminal proceeds work for them legitimately. They usually originate from humble beginnings themselves. But there are persons who, believe it or not, are born into criminal families here in St. Lucia and are raised in a criminal culture. These individuals are very well mannered and present themselves to society as fine, upstanding individuals, but they are not. Far from it. However, things may not always appear as they seem. They are primary financiers of the drug trade. These are very wealthy individuals who normally donate generously towards political endeavors and charity. These donations and other undercover grants are issued in return for favors which would facilitate their criminal activities. They are very unassuming and not flashy compared to the 90-octane criminal. Because they wear brands which are not recognizable by the average Joe. So you'd see an individual with a t-shirt on and perhaps a watch, unknowing that this watch may be a Richard Mille watch. A normal steel watch, however, close to $500,000 in cost. However, no one would know. They usually have a rags to riches story and use it as a decoy to prevent persons from finding out the truth about them and how they became wealthy. So they make up this bogus story about, probably working extremely hard, doing jobs that no one else would have done, making it seem that they sacrifice so much to get to where they are. However, things don't add up in those stories, especially when these individuals are now multi-millionaires. My advice here to everyone is to continue working hard and stop comparing yourselves to individuals. Because the individual you might see with the big fancy cars, they may not be as morally inclined as you are. However, there is a God above, and He will be the judge of this human race. The early 116 octanes who are in their 60s and 70s now gain their wealth successfully by laundering their money and setting up businesses to continue the process into their retirement. They grew up in a time with little media and no modern technology as we have now. This caused these individuals to reign supreme and conduct their activities without any legal consequences. Investing and creating the corporate empires we know now. Some of their own family members are not even aware of their criminal endeavors and where the family's wealth originated from. So we see now we have these individuals in their old age passing on businesses to their sons and daughters who probably are dunce themselves and not able to run such a corporation. However, they don't have a choice in such a manner. The 116 octane level criminal usually partakes in the following crimes more often than other crimes: high level narcotic trafficking, stock market insider trading, foreign exchange fraud, wire transfer fraud, while maintaining a pristine reputation as a business and family man or woman, avoiding detection from law enforcement. Now, I mentioned women for the 116 octane criminals. However, women partake in all levels of criminality. We will refer to them as kerosene because they are of a different nature and they also serve a different purpose, usually within the criminal hierarchy. By this breakdown, we can clearly see that although crime is related, its perpetrators are vastly different in terms of level and social status. Thank you again for watching Unfiltered Press St. Lucia. Please view my YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe. Visit me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm your host, Troy Sayers. Thank you for watching.